Have you ever glanced at a tiny apartment balcony and just thought, nope, no way I could grow anything there? Well, what if I told you that same little space could actually give you fresh food every single day of the year? It sounds kind of wild, right? Okay, so let's dive into this whole idea of a quiet, productive, 365-day balcony garden. And look, this is not about turning into some full-scale farmer overnight. The way this is framed is just beautiful. It's called a quiet journal, and that really gets to the heart of it. It's more of a gentle, almost meditative practice, a peaceful little journey of connecting with where your food comes from, even if your space is super, super small. Right, and this is the bold promise that really caught my eye. We're not just talking about, a summer fling with a tomato plant that you forget about in September. No, we're talking a full year-round cycle of harvests. Think about it. Fresh herbs for your tea in the middle of January, crisp salad greens in April, those perfect juicy cherry tomatoes in August, and even some hearty kale in November. It sounds like a dream, but it's totally possible. So that leads to the big question, right? How in the world do you actually pull this off? How do you take a little patch of concrete and turn it into a garden that's productive through spring, summer, fall, and yes, even winter? Well, like with most things, it all comes down to starting with the right foundation. So let's talk about that foundation, setting up for success. And honestly, this part is absolutely key. The first few choices you make, they're going to decide if this whole thing feels like a rewarding hobby or just a frustrating chore. But if you get this part right, I promise the rest of it just falls into place as a simple, low-effort routine. The whole trick here is to work smarter, not harder. So, step one, choose smart containers. I mean things that do some of the work for you, like self-watering pots. Seriously, these are a game changer. They free you from that daily did I water anxiety and just make everything more relaxing. Step two is to think vertically. When you can't build out, you gotta build up. Vertical planters, trellises, they are gonna be your absolute best friends in a small space. And finally, step three, pick the right plants. You wanna look for compact varieties that were literally bred to be happy in containers. And just take a look at the variety that's possible here. I mean, we are not talking about just a single lonely pot of mint. You can have fresh leaf lettuce and radishes for your salads, little cherry tomatoes and peppers that are perfect for snacking, and yeah, even strawberries. You can have vining beans climbing up a trellis, and of course, all season herbs are pretty much a must-have for any kitchen. Okay, so once our setup is all sorted, let's get into the actual rhythm of the year. We're going to start with the high energy seasons. That period of just explosive growth and the biggest, most abundant harvests, spring and summer. This timeline is basically our roadmap for the whole year. It's so cool because you can really see the natural flow of things. You're starting seeds in the spring, then you hit that peak harvest time in the summer. As things cool down, you transition to cool weather crops in the fall. And then in the winter, the focus shifts to protecting your plants and maybe growing some microgreens indoors. So during these active months, your balcony is just buzzing with life. You're starting new seedlings, you're watering and checking on things daily, maybe training some of those vining plants to climb. But the best part? Oh, it's the constant reward. You're always picking fresh ingredients. A little something for a salad, a garnish, a main meal. This is absolutely the payoff season. Okay, but what happens when all that summer energy starts to fade and the weather cools down? This is where that 365-day promise really gets put to the test. So let's shift gears and look at the quiet seasons, autumn and winter, and the really clever techniques that keep this garden going. And you can see here, it's a total shift in focus. The energy becomes a lot more reflective. Instead of that explosive growth we saw in the summer, now you're nurturing hardier plants, protecting them from the cold, and even bringing a part of the harvest indoors with things like microgreens. It's also the perfect time for planning for next spring and feeding your soil so the whole cycle can begin again. Now, one of the key techniques for this period is something called succession sowing, and it is such a simple but totally powerful idea. Basically, instead of planting all of your lettuce at once and then having a mountain of it you can't possibly eat, you just plant a few new seeds every couple of weeks. This staggers the harvest, which means you get a nice, continuous supply, especially all through the autumn. So, we've talked a lot about the how-to, right? The containers, the plants, the seasons. But it's really clear that this journey is about so much more than just the vegetables you pick. It's about the deeper, more lasting rewards that come from this simple daily practice. So what is the real harvest here? I mean, beyond the food itself. The true reward is something, deeper. It's that restorative, almost meditative routine that you get to build into your daily life. And this is the real heart of that quiet journal idea we started with. It's that peaceful moment you take each morning, maybe with your coffee, just to check on your plants. It's the simple satisfaction of snipping fresh mint for your tea or grabbing a few lettuce leaves for a sandwich. It's a real, tangible connection to your food and to the rhythm of the seasons, happening right there, just outside your window. So I'm going to leave you with this thought. Just for a second, forget about the big grand plan. Forget about all 365 days. Just think about tomorrow. What is one small thing, maybe a little pot of basil or a few radish seeds, that you could start growing? Because that, right there, that's how every single one of these quiet, year-long garden journeys